yes. I'm just questioning exactly why there isn't more audits of actual files. Um, could you get me the auditors of every county court in America? It seems that they have this idea that, well, we're the court and we never get audited. Now, when I had went through this Exhibit B yesterday, then I found out that you put this 1012 where the case resolution closed by court order after a hearing, and then you put it in publication, and then, oh, that's not the other half of it. Now look at here, my public defender. You can't put Superior wherever you want. You can't issue this without a court address or telephone number. And then here's the evidence he wanted the court to see. True. Now, you had to make another court hearing for me to have to appear at. Now, let's see here, attempts, aiding and abetting, accessories, and conspiracy. Now, that every co-conspirator that refuses to enforce the laws of the United States that has sworn that they would support the law is now conspirators in the moral turpitude of not enforcing the law. Now you say, I don't understand the legal terms? Let's see. I went through approximately 15 years of audits, and I do understand compliance. I was a commodity trading advisor. Exactly what individuals have not been audited, where we need to go through each and every court form to find out why it was that you did not fill them out according to the requirements of the law. Now, these prosecuting attorneys that say, well, you just have to have knowledge of it, they say that there's no possible way that it could have been issued in violation of the RCWs of the state. But it was. There's what's known as harboring a fugitive from justice. Yes. Crimes committed against governmental authority. Now, this is 94 FAM. Crimes committed against the governmental authority which fell within the definition of moral turpitude, yes, include bribery, counterfeiting, fraud against revenue or other government functions, yes, mail fraud, perjury, harboring a fugitive from justice with guilty knowledge and tax evasion, willful. Crimes against government authority, which would constitute moral turpitude for the visa reissuance. This is the United States and U.S. Department of State Foreign Affairs Manual, Volume 9. Black market violations, breach of the peace, carrying a concealed weapon, desertion from the armed services, disorderly conduct. The Wikipedia, the nemo auditor proprium turpitudium allegans. Whether a criminal offense involves moral turpitude is an important determination in deportation, disbarment, and other disciplinary hearings. You ever had to talk to one of these compliance officers? Now, when I was at Washington Mutual, they had an actual obligation as a corporation, financial services, where they send out their compliance guy, goes through every file of every applicant, looks at the actual documentation, what I filled out and what I said, so on and so forth, so on and so forth. And then if there's a problem, boy, oh boy, they fill out this form, you got to fix the actual audit. Now, the corporation, because of security laws, employed their own compliance officers. But when I left Washington Mutual and started my own financial services company, yes. Well, Horowitz and Associates employed a woman named, I think her last name was Jewett, yes. Or maybe it wasn't. Crystal, thank you, Heidi. Yeah. Her name was Crystal Pennigan. Yes, she visited with us while we were living in Swim. And she went through quite a few files and told me how they wanted to do it at Horowitz. Yes, yes. And I was pretty good at compliance. I didn't like those, well, the dings you can get. You can actually be penalized. You can be fined for for not being compliant. Oh my gosh. Well, I had a complaint, in fact, multiple complaints. And Horowitz didn't put them on my record, or no, Washington Mutual didn't put them on my record when I left, until after I left Washington Mutual. I didn't even know they were there. Yes, yes, yes. Well, FINRA decided to send out Valerie Amburn to do a FINRA audit. At that time, it was the NASD. And if you've ever had one of those investigators from the Securities and Exchange Commission, those that are the actual audit, I tell you, it can be an experience. You know, they can shut a guy down. I mean, they can actually arrest certain individuals. Now, I've really been squeezed in a lot of different ways, and they wouldn't really tell me how my audit went for maybe 3-4 months. They were so busy, they just thought they'd sit on me. Really upset me. But I got Valerie's phone number, and I kept it with me, thinking that the NASD and the Securities Exchange Commission and those that are self-regulatory organizations what is justice? Oh my gosh. Protecting rights and punishing wrongs using fairness. It is possible to have unjust laws, even with fair and proper administration of the law of the land, as a way for legal systems to uphold the ideal. Did you know there is an ideal known as justice? Now, what is the travesty of justice? This is what everyone wants to know. The term travesty of justice is sometimes used for gross, deliberate miscarriage of justice. Yes. Now, I would say that this form that was emitted is a gross, deliberate miscarriage of justice, known as the travesty of justice. I mean, how many court orders have been issued in this state and every state for the last 20 years where you didn't put the address and the phone number of the court? Oh, the petitioner didn't actually sign it. The respondent wasn't given any actual notice of court hearings. You had a court hearing 50 days after the temporary protection order was issued, when it says 14 days. And then there's the fraudulent use of the state court seal, and the forgery of the ex officio Superior Court clerk. And then there's the putting of words where they are not allowed. Now, you wouldn't think a court order, but this suing for the travesty of justice, for the gross, deliberate miscarriage of justice, so that you could tell me that you're the... See, I don't think there's ever been a court order that has been a greater example of travesty of justice. And the state says, well, you have knowledge of it, we can arrest you. But when I actually go through what this court order says, it's probably the greatest living example of a travesty of justice. There's no compliance requirement for the name of the petitioner? No. Or date of birth? No. There's no requirement to name the respondent? No. Or the respondent's date of birth? Right. The matter came before the court on the protected persons? Yes. Petition for any order for protection. If the petitioner didn't sign it, did she institute the actual court hearings, or did you decide to take it upon yourselves to do that? And then the surrender is mandatory because the restrained had not had actual notice and opportunity to be heard. Talk about a holy shit, travesty of justice. Now, for every oath of office that wants to get that lawsuit, there you go. This court order is the nation's greatest example of what's known as a travesty of justice. Oh, it has, well, it's completely void of any compliant issuance. It is absolutely the worst example of how to issue a court order ever recorded. Yes, yes, yes. And for some reason, you keep arresting me because I have knowledge of it.